internship in my second year at one of the big four, accounting firms. It was, please give me a year. If it doesn't work out, it's okay. I'll go back. I'll be a CA.
Tell us, what is gamification? Yes, you are a gamification manager. Kenzani, talk to us about money.
Because it's in such high demand, at the time I thought being a CA was everything. Yeah, easily take home over 100,
100K yes. To take home. CAs are not taking that much.
Obviously, all these things will come together in order to create your portfolio.
Hi guys, welcome to The Village. My name is Bonnie. I create content around careers, education with a dose of reality check. Today I'm so excited because we finally have a UX designer, user experience manager, in brackets, gamification. We are going to be learning all about it today. Guys, I know you've been asking for it and it's finally here. A bit of a background about Ukenzani. Ukenzani has been working in the digital space, digital marketing, tech industry space for about 13 years. 8 years in corporate and 5 years working for herself. So she's going to be sharing her journey with us. What happened during her third year while she was busy with her BCom accounting, because she was determined to become a CA. So we want to know about her journey and how you can get into this space if you're interested. Now let's welcome Kenzani to The Village. Hi Kenzani, how are you?
Bonnie, I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. Please say hi to The Village.
Hey, how are you? How's everyone?
Siyabonga. Thank you so much for joining us. I know it's always tight with you. Let's get straight to it.
Okay.
Kenzani, yep. Kenzani, tell us what happened during your third year at varsity when you were doing your BCom accounting. Can you tell us briefly what happened there?
So I think when I started varsity, I was trying to decide between studying to become an actuary and studying to become a chartered accountant. I think that's where I thought my career was going to go. Yeah, I had already internship in my second year at one of the big four, accounting firms. It was that I knew I wanted to be a CA. So it was unquestionable. And then, as life happens, I fell pregnant. And it was a very difficult time for me. And also, I was quite young at the time, and it had me pause because things weren't flowing the way that they did before. So this is from a financial aspect, all those things. So I had to take a pause in my third year, and I couldn't complete it. But I had always thought that, okay, cool, when my son is maybe like 6 months, I will, continue the next year and finish. For me, it was a no-brainer. But, as it doesn't quite happen that way. So I ended up, that was the time. In between that time when he was born, those 8 months was when my pivot happened, when I fell in love with tech. And it wasn't from a place that I ever thought would happen. So I was starting a business with my ex-partner. We were starting a tennis coach, and someone had built us the worst website I had ever seen. It was a terrible website. And I just knew, looking at this website, that there's no way we're going to get clients from this. And we need this because we have a newborn. So we need this to work, right? So with my entrepreneurial spirit, I guess, every time my son would sleep, I would be online. I'd be on YouTube. I'd be looking at coding courses. I'd be looking at finding out what content management systems are, what I need to do in order to, there's a theme. What does a theme mean? How do I edit a theme? This was me. So I spent a good 3 months teaching myself, but it also came understanding that the graphic part was also important. So then I asked myself, okay, so what is that? Like, do I need to use a particular program for that? How do I design? What are vectors? These are the things that sort of pop up as you are sort of, finding for yourself. And within months, I built this website. and as God would do, and affirm for you, the day after the site went live, we got our first client. And that feeling, I just thought, my goodness, if I can do this, because I never felt like that throughout studying, doing my accounting, doing internships. I'd never felt that feeling. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what, but I need to do this. So I spoke to my gran and I said to her, please give me a year. If it doesn't work out, I want to try this. I want to give it my all. Give me a year. If it
Right.
doesn't work, fine. It's okay. I'll go back. I'll be a CA because she is an accountant. So, but
Okay.
if it does work, then I have a feeling that it's going to be amazing. Just give me a year and then let's see. And she said, okay, let's see.
Okay.
And pretty much what happened.
The rest is history, as they would say. Okay. Can tell
Yeah.
us, so were you building websites? Were you learning through YouTube? Okay, first of all, which year was this? Because context is everything. Which year was this?
Sure. So my son was born in 2013. Yes. Yeah. So between the end of my pregnancy and having him in 2013. So yeah. So 2013, end of 2012 to 2013 was that time. Yeah.
Okay. So you are teaching yourself to build websites through YouTube, or did you go through like a specific academy, or you were just learning on YouTube?
No. So I think at the time, I remember just jumping around quite a bit because there's a difference now because there's courses, there's places like Coursera,
Yes.
there's like so many now. And it literally was that. Obviously, there were websites. I built that website on WordPress at the time. Um, I used a theme and then I realized the theme wasn't what I wanted. How do I change the theme? That's where all of this sort of started. Yeah, so at the time it was just jumping around between YouTube. I spent a lot of time on YouTube. I spent lots of time on blogs, WordPress blogs that and then it sort of went into a bit of a rabbit hole of different blogs following other people who were in tech at the time, females that were and seeing how they're doing it and how they explain. And yeah, so it was a lot of
Okay.
trying to find.
So at this point, are you just doing web development for yourself, or now you've realized this is a business? Like, I can actually do this for other people.
I think it was at that point where I realized I could actually do this as a business, right? But I also realized that if I'm going to do it as a business, because this is a time business, right? So whatever I do in, let me say, 20, 30 hours, and if I don't have to outsource. So this is also the part where I realize is that some things require a bit of design. So for example, I can have a client who says, I don't really have a logo. And when you're asking me for these pictures, I can send you these pictures, but by the time that you are trying to put them into the website, they're the wrong size, the ratio is off, they are big. So these are the things that you sort of like, I sort of figured out as I was going along that, okay, I would also need this skill set. And that would mean that would be a graphic design that I would need. The fortunate part is that at the my ex-brother-in-law, he was a senior art director and he had a machine and he was like, Kent, this has the Adobe suite on it. You can play around, there's tutorials. I don't have time to teach you. You can come to me with questions, but I don't have time to. But here it has everything that you need. That was my saving grace.
Okay. Guys, I know we just started. Please like and share this video and leave any questions you might have for Kentani. I know you have a lot of questions for her. She's got such an amazing and unique story. Okay, and I can see this video is gonna be longer, but we want all the we want all the tea. We want all the tea. Kentani, so you are there with your ex business partner or partner, you're doing a tennis coaching, you create this beautiful website, and then you start getting clients, the tennis coaching clients. But then now you found yourself with this other business. So are you
Yes.
doing both businesses or what? So
Yes.
can you just tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I had decided that I'm going to give this a try. I want to open up initially. I was like, it's going to be my own little creative studio. I saw how other females were doing it at the time.
Mhm.
You know, thought to myself, I can really do this. The beauty about it is that blogs were such a huge thing at the time. So people loved to share a creative process, you know.
Right.
It's like a high level portfolio. They would show you how they are designing the assets. And that for me is really key in terms of figuring out how someone takes the steps in order to create, a
Mhm.
brand. So a brand is
Mhm.
not a logo. You would start to understand building blocks of how to create these things. So for me, it
Mhm.
was a lot of trying to understand, and now what I would understand or know the terms for, which would be what brand language is, where brand values come into play, where graphic design comes into play, digital design comes into play. So these were the things that I was learning on the go. But I had decided
Okay.
that because there's so much information, I need to almost package this thing in a way that makes sense. So what do I want to focus on? Do I want to
Right.
focus on, yes, creating brands? Do I want to focus on just web development? And
Mhm.
how do I do that quickly? So how do I monetize this thing? And also
Right.
because I know how to measure how long it's going to take me to create a website, for example, right?
Mhm.
So thinking about things like that. So I'm like, okay, I know WordPress now. Um, Let me use that as my CMS. So this is what I'm going to be building on, right? And then
Okay.
I got my client. I remember she was a bakery. Um, and it was so exciting. I can't explain how excited I was, but also so scared. So scared. Because now it's a real life client. It's not like someone who's like my partner. Yes, I'd seen it could work, but it was not someone who's close. So now there's expectations. Now there's
Mhm.
deadlines that now that there's things that I need from that client that in order to create this website, they did have a logo, but they didn't have anything else. So no brand assets. So now I know
Mm.
I'm from the ground up. So
Right.
I think that's the most practical way of learning, because the thing that I really thrive at is like, give me a deadline and I will create
Mm.
magic. So created her website. I also realized through this process that it is easier to design something, get
Mhm.
approval, fine. So use
First.
Photoshop.
Mhm.
Yes. Get
Mhm.
my sign off there before we are building anything. Because
Yes.
anyone who knows building and you're trying to make changes there, it takes you twice
Mhm.
as long. But if
Yes.
creating the changes, a flat image, it's quicker. So
Yeah.
that's why I learned that. So got my approval. As soon as that was approved, then I knew how long my dev time would take. Created her website and we were live within 3 weeks. So at the time, now it can be much quicker, but 3 weeks
Okay.
was amazing for me. She was happy. So yeah, so that's that. So that's how the business started, and more clients
Mhm.
came in as referrals. And
Mhm.
yeah, and I just started freelancing and creating websites and working with different brands and having, that thing when you are an entrepreneur where you are saying
Mhm.
you can do something, yes to things, and you're trying
Mhm.
to figure out how you do them. I
Yeah.
said yes to a lot of, and I figured out as I was going. Um,
Yes.
but the beauty is that I always executed. I got so many referrals, and my business grew so quickly, um, to a point where it could actually give me or supply me with like my income, for quite some time.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so that's how the business went.
How many years? How many years was
Uh,
the business running for?
So it's so interesting when I get asked this question because there will still be projects that come about, that where someone will say to me, yes, Kensani, can you please, do some UX or some UI or some strategy, some digital strategy for me? Or so there'll be projects that I take on now in my personal capacity when I have time. I don't have as much time. So the business has still been going on till this day. It's not my full-time business anymore. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so maybe let's go to how did you get into corporate now, like your first job? So your first job, Kensani, was in 2015. I just double checked now for this magazine as a digital designer. So they wanted to move to digital, right? So that was your first role. How did you feel about it? I know, like you and I have a similar background, so when you go to these jobs, actually, I'm not bragging, but in most cases, you are way too experienced. In most cause, if you are self-employed, you're doing a lot of things, So by the time you get to the job, you are too experienced.
Yes.
So how did you feel about it? For me, I couldn't keep jobs. Like I'll stay for 5 months and I'll be bored and leave. But anyway, how did it feel for you?
It was quite exciting for me, but I think, like you're saying, I think I realized that my experience was far greater than what the position had asked for.
Yeah.
So what I was doing is that I was designing digital assets. So not necessarily the website at first. It was more like the banners for Google. It was more like the campaign stuff that would be shown on the website. It was more that kind of collateral that I was designing. And I was just like, yes, this was quite what I thought it was going to be. So I think I eventually found myself quite bored in that space because I was like, this is not it. This is not what I want to do. It's along the lines, but definitely not it.
Okay, and then you moved to another one. I see here you were a freelancer and you were a senior digital designer. So was it the same or did you add other skills here? Like, was it similar or because I see here it says SEO and PPC as well, right? So how was this one?
Yeah. So this was different because I think this is where I'm saying to you, there's such an importance of working with agency. Now, I think I'd worked with agencies when I was freelancing. So I had when I had my own business. So it was, I got the experience of agency, but also being employed by an agency is slightly different. So they're not asking you for certain delivery. You are sitting there and then they're asking you of things that you've never done before,
Right.
So when they're asking me about SEO, I mean, what SEO was, at a high level, because if you are building, you have to know what SEO is because you need to build websites in mind, but as sort of going, I'm saying I'm doing projects and learning on the job. I realize that this is quite different than the previous role, but it's also adding on experience of what is needed if I was to say designer. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I think I enjoyed that role a lot more because it had a lot more of what my skill set encompassed. I wasn't bored. I was stretched. I find myself at night trying to figure out and do courses and read, and that's how that was. So it was really beautiful in that sense that anytime opportunity to work in a smaller agency, which I will always say, if you can start off in agency, please do, especially if you are in tech. Please start. They will ask. It's a very challenging environment, but you will learn so much. You will wear so many hats. You will work on different projects. You are stuck on certain projects. You will always be stretched. So if I were to say, if you are starting out, if you are thinking, okay, where should I go? My advice is don't start in corporate just yet, but start in an agency, get all your badges, and then go into corporate.
Yeah. But Kintan, we've been chatting for, I think, for more than 20 minutes now. But I haven't asked you, what is a UX designer? Basically, we are talking about designing. Because right now, your
Yes.
right now your position, you are in banking and you were user experience manager. Okay, I know what that is, but for someone who doesn't know, what's the difference between
Yes.
UX and UI? Let's start there.
Okay, so some people will think, they usually, especially when I was starting out specifically in UX and UI, everyone thought it was the same thing, but it isn't. And now it's a lot specialized, so you understand it a little bit more. So let me talk to it. So UX is user experience. So what you do is that you are the research part of creating the screens. So we are very design thinking and human centered focused. So usually what would happen is that when you project, businesses would say, we know what the client and the customer wants, so we are going to build this thing. And then hopefully they like it. That's not what UX is. UX says that the customer informs what we're going to be doing. So very early on, we are speaking to the client. We are asking them what their pain points are. We are asking them, is there something that we can work on? This is the research component. We're creating personas. So you are pretty much the person that is concerned with how the client would experience the product or the digital platform or the website or the app, whatever. So you need to do the research right at the beginning in order to inform what the screens would look like. Whereas before, what we would do is that we would create the screens, and then based on how a client responds to that, then we would change things. This is what UX does. So we are saying we need to figure out what the client needs, and then let's build according to that.
Okay, and then
yes, UI. So UI takes the research component that you have collected, all the research that you have done, and now you are designing the screens according to that research. So if you know that the client doesn't see a particular button because you were doing types, for example, or you've learned that on your current or your existing website, they find it quite difficult to find something.
Right.
So you are saying, found this in the research part of it, and now we're going to change the website or what the design looks like so that we can make this prominent, easy to find, and we are designing this. So you are the designer. So most jobs, it is quite useful because both of these are interlinked. So you will find that a UX or UI person wears both hats because you would need some of the knowledge that informs the screens, and you some of the knowledge from the screens to inform the knowledge base, right? So with my UX manager role, I wear both of the hats. I am also doing gamification. So I'm a gamification manager, which is a different hat.
Wait, tell us, what is gamification? Yes, you are a gamification manager for in banking, right? For context, guys.
Yes.
So what is that?
Yes. So gamification is putting game-like assets or game-like components in non-gaming environments. So what I mean by this is that if you think very loosely, I'm going to use, and I'm not sure if there's a particular bank that does a particular well, and I'm just going to speak to it because it's a gamification component, right?
Right.
So, for example, Discovery has Vitality. So the more either exercise more, the more you get more points, you get rewarded for that. So that's a gamification component. So that's placing something that is game, but not in a game-like environment, right? And then you get other sort of gaming mechanics that are in your day-to-day. For example, your Apple Watch would be gamified because it has maybe you are tracking against your friends and how you guys are all running, and you are the kind of person that always wants to be number. So this is competitive between you guys. That is gaming. So pretty much enhancing your user by adding gaming in it. But that's not in a traditional gaming environment. It's not like you are playing an actual game. It's just little mechanics that are added in to help the user move along in a particular way.
Okay. Guys, please share this video and like it and leave, and because I'm sure you are dizzy like me. I'm learning quite a lot of like new things today, but most of the things that you are talking about is things that I'm familiar with, but I just didn't know them like in detail. Kenzani, talk to us about money. You were self-employed. You were self-employed, Bill. So now you moved to a salary. Can you tell us about that?
I think there's a difference. I think anyone who's ever been self-employed knows that the only thing about being self-employed is that there's fluctuations. So, so when I was thinking about going into a full-time or a permanent position, it was literally like, do I want these fluctuations? Can I plan ahead? And at the time, my son was, going through school, that kind of thing. So I was just thinking that the inconsistency in terms of like, I was doing really well, but I didn't like those inconsistent months. And also because my ex-partner and he was running a business, I'm running a business. So it means there's quite a bit of fluctuation. So I said to myself, no, let's see if I can go full-time job. And the interesting thing is, because it's in such high demand, at the time I thought being a CA was everything, and everyone talks about CA money.
Yes.
But if I can say it like this, I would say because of the kind of industry, it's literally on par. So if you are looking at something that is an alternative career, or you're thinking about pivoting, especially from finance, because everyone thinks like finance is, I would say tech, where the money is. That's what I would say.
So is there money in, because tech is broad, but right now we're talking about UX. So there is.
There is. Yes.
But give us a range.
First of all, it will obviously be influenced by the amount of experience that you have. The second thing that will also influence this is whether you're starting off at an agency or you're going straight into corporate. Corporate naturally sometimes pays higher, but that's because you have other benefits. Yeah, if you are a junior UX UI, you can make anything from like 20 to 35 as a junior. But for someone who's a lot more senior, or you are in management, you can easily take home over 100, So these are the things that, like, it's a really great space to be in, to work in. And it's often overlooked. So if you are thinking about doing it, do it. The money will come as, it will be the most beautiful part of your job, but the job itself is so rewarding that you'll love it. But in it, you love it.
100K to take home. CAs are not taking that much home.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's talk about the skills, because you have quite a lot of skills. It's because you are self-employed. So in most cases, just to give people context, in most cases, there will be things that you don't want to outsource, so you just learn them. Okay. So as a result, by the time you get to corporate, you had more experience, right? But can you just give us an idea of core skills that I would need if I want to get into UX UI?
Okay, so I think first of all, I always say, like, decide where you want to go. So do you want to have both, or do you just want to focus on one or the other? So if you are looking at more of a UX space, then you would need skill sets, for example, in user research because you're going to be doing surveys and interviews. So you are collating all that information, right? The second thing, you need to know how to do like the personas. You would also need to know how to wireframe and prototype. So most of the time, you can get that UI would do the wireframing, but it is a core skill for UX in order to know how to do wireframes as well. It informs of your research and how things are sort of playing out and how you are thinking the design will sort of roll out. And then also you would do interaction design as well, as quite important. This is more UX focused, right? And then architecture is also such a huge part, but it's often overlooked. So you would know where certain things are supposed to go on a particular page. If you are, for example, designing a website, does it make sense? Does it flow? Is the button where it's supposed to be? So having a great understanding of that from a UX perspective. So this is someone who's doing user experience, then that would be core skills that you would need. And then if you are thinking more UI, then you are the visual person. So you're going to be thinking about and visuals, you'll be thinking about the typography, you'll be able to, it is always helpful if you wear both hats because you have a clear understanding of what informs. So someone's research informs your designs, but you are the person that is specifically looking at the design. So you're going to be doing the high fidelity prototypes. You would need to know, your Sketch. We used to use Sketch, we used to use Adobe Illustrator, but now we don't use that anymore. Everyone's using Figma. You're going to need those tools. Does it help if you know some level of front-end development? Absolutely. And this is for both roles. It does not take away because you are working so closely with your developers. And if you want an easy relationship, and I think I've learned this when I was quite young, is that if you want an easy relationship with your developers and no back and forth with them, have an understanding because they build the pages. So it's nice for something to look good, but is it functional? And that's what the dev will ask. Can this actually work? So having a great understanding or a little bit of understanding of like front-end dev, so some CSS, some HTML, that is quite helpful as well. Yeah, so that's what I would say that you would need. And then obviously all these things will come together in order to create your portfolio. Now I've looked at so many portfolios in my roles. I've hired juniors, I've hired mid designers. And the first thing I will say to you is that, because it's UX and UI, we really want to understand why you created something, why you designed something. So even if you are looking for a reference of what a UX or a UI portfolio should look like, there's plenty online. You can go on Behance and have a look at that. You can just Google at what that looks like, just so that you have an idea, because it's not just the screens. The thing that really informs the thinking behind it, the research behind it. So you need a really strong portfolio. So it doesn't matter if you create beautiful things, if you can't explain them. And I will say that as well. If you are going to be in an interview, we will always ask you about your thinking, your planning, your research, your testing. That's how it's going to be for this role, because that's what UX and UI really entails.
Kentani, do you have any certifications? Besides, I know you came from YouTube University, you've done YouTube University. So after that, have you done anything else?
So I'm currently studying at the moment. Finally, doing my UX certifications by HFI. So I think also because UX and UI for the longest time was quite new. So finding places to get certifications was quite difficult. So even when you probably people who are doing the work but uncertified, but not because you don't want to, but because there weren't places where you could go. But right now, the industry standard as it stands, most people will go get their CUA, so their certification from Human Factors International. That's where most people will go who are experienced. but trying to get their certification. So I'm currently in the process of doing that.
Oh, so you can do the certification if you are experienced. But let's say, Kenzani, I'm straight
Yes.
from high school, right? What can I do? What can I
Yes.
study if I'm straight from high school?
No. So if you're straight from high school, so most people will do something that is either, there are courses now. For example, if you go to red and yellow, or
Yes, yes.
varsities, more private, yes, that now actually offer user experience diplomas and degrees. Whereas in my time, that wasn't a thing. Most people would have to study graphic design, for example, then find yourself sort of transitioning. There are people who study digital design now available. But if you can get yourself a user experience design diploma, which is fantastic that now it actually exists. So, and then if you can, I would say certifications are really the thing that you need. More than anything else. So maybe if you are studying something else, maybe you have a degree in something else, then you will need a certification. The certifications also help you build your portfolio. So that's also the difference here. So you will have a clear understanding of how to create that portfolio. You will do projects that help you build your portfolio. And most of the certifications have people who are experts in this industry. So what I've found is that because it's a niche sort of career, the institutions that have decided to make certifications available have pretty much created an industry standard. So you will know that even if you decide to do one, I know Coursera has quite a few. I know Google now has a certification as well in UX and UI. So these are becoming the industry standard. It's always changing, it's always evolving. So what I would say is that wherever you are, look at a certification. If you can get yourself into a diploma or degree, do that. But if you cannot, those certifications will give you most of the knowledge base in order for you to create that portfolio, to start knocking on those doors. And because they are the industry standard, another piece of paper, it is going to be a credible piece of paper that says, I have the knowledge and I have the portfolio to back it.
Which platform can we use to create portfolios, and is it free?
Yes, so there's free, there are free platforms and there's paid for platforms. Behance, look at Dribble, for example. There are so many more. But for example, even if you wanted to create a website specifically, now it's easy to create a website. You would just have a content management system that is for free and you build your website. So as long as it's online.
I'm not going to ask if you'll ever go back to accounting. I'm assuming you are not. What is your grandmother saying?
So proud. She's so proud. You know, what she often says is like, you know, I have an IT child in my house. That's what she says. So all of her technical things that she needs, everything that has to do with the computer, she calls me first. Yeah,
Okay.
she's very proud. I don't. Yeah.
Okay. Kenzani, thank you so much for stopping by. Yeah, we've learned a lot today, guys. Please like and share the video. I know you have a lot of questions for Kenzani. She will come back and interact with you by the comment section. I'm not going to ask what are your future plans. You are busy with your certification, and I can just see that you are happy in this field. This is where it's at. You're not going to go back to accounting. You're not going to do something else. But tell us in your own words your future plans if you'd like to share.
Sure. I think anything that I'm sort of working towards at the moment, I want to be the head of innovations. That's where I want to be. So what I'm doing is that upskilling certifications in order to be there in the next 2 to 3 years. We are in a beautiful space in South Africa when it comes to tech. It is a booming space worldwide. So anyone who is thinking, when you are thinking about tech, it's so broad, like you've said, Bonnie. It's so broad. There are so many different little pockets, but it's a booming industry. Even when you're thinking about AI, that's the talk that everyone is talking about. Gamification is what everyone's talking about as well. I'm saying broaden your horizons. There is so much work to be done. Just think about this. We are chatting on this digital device,
Yeah.
what you've done, the low pro on your phone today, before you even watch this, those are all influenced by tech. Those are all done by UX and UI. That is all of that. You telling them to like and subscribe, that is a function, right? That has been created. So, beautiful industry to be in. If you've ever thought about going into it, I'd say run, don't walk. Yeah.
Bye, Kentani. Please say bye to the village.
Thank you so much. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you, Bonnie.
Wow, guys, that was inspirational. Please like and share the video. Leave any questions that you might have for Kentani. Guys, in this life, you can have challenges, but it's all up to you, okay? What you do about it. Mina, I'm here to just share some information, bring people like Abo Kentani to share information with you. Guys, don't forget the tech industry guide is going to be ready end of this month, okay? I'm going to be telling you more about it. It's going to be ready. I got your suggestions, even how much you want. Guys, you said you want to pay 299 for it. That's how much you were prepared to pay, 299. Okay, it's fine. I'll make a plan. Maybe it will be 320. Your guide will be like 320. Okay. But yeah, look out for it, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.